Okay, thank you for staying with us on CMI. I'm Uyag Mofwegbe. As always, we appreciate the time you spend with us here on the program. Let's begin with our first discussion this morning, which has to do with the need to reform the police. But more importantly, we're moving the conversation to the part where we need to begin to put key performance indicators in place so we can track progress. In 2 years' time, for example, are we supposed to still be talking about this level of reform as far as the policing system in this country is concerned? Yes, the federal government is working on a few very important items to ensure that the police is reformed on the one hand, and then there's the civil relationship between the police and the people, so that there will be dialogue rather than violence between the police and the people for whom they ought to provide protection in the first instance. But how do we keep track of how much of progress we're making on the long term? All right, and what should those measures be that we must put in place? For example, we understand that we now have panels of inquiry set up across this country. In fact, there's one that is known as a panel of inquiry and restitution. All right, so all of these are measures being put in place to ensure that all of these issues are addressed as quickly as possible. But how can we measure progress? In the end, would that progress be commensurate with the expectation of the average Nigerian as far as reforming the police is concerned? I'm joined by two gentlemen. I want to begin from my far left, somebody who has come to spend time with us this morning to also share his thoughts as a young person on many of these issues that we have come to find very, very nagging. Bright Agbolahao is a public commentator. Thank you for coming on the program this morning.
Good morning.
We appreciate it. And next to him is a man who created some sort of hiatus between us. I mean, for a long time, Reverend Olu Martins has not been on my program in particular. Right? Today is honored to have you back on CMI Thursday, and we do appreciate it. Okay, I want to begin with you, Reverend. I've known you to be part of different demonstrations, struggles to ensure that society becomes a better place on many fronts. When the NSAS protest started, I mean the one that started peacefully until the Lekki issue came up, a lot of persons said, yes, this is coming at the right time. This is the kind of conversation we should be having as far as improving our policing is concerned, even though some also would say, well, this is long overdue. But the important thing is the government, the federal government that is, came to a point and said, look, we understand what your requests or your demands are, and as such we are going to work on particularly these 5 demands that you have put forward. And there were people who said, look, the federal government has made the right move, at least to have even acknowledged, for example, that we have an issue in front of us. We're going to address them. But going forward, how do we even know whether or not there's a marked difference between where we were with our policing and where we are today?
And it's significant that you have asked that question, because we're very apt in this country at making promises. But when it gets to the point where, like they say, to put your money where your mouth is a different ball game entirely. No doubt, of course, that the NSAS protest clearly shook this country to its very foundation. Because for the first time in the history of this country, we saw, quote and unquote, an uncoordinated protests, most of which were spontaneous in different parts of the country. For a very long time, we had thought that it was difficult to confront considered authority if you didn't have NLC, if you didn't have TUC, and then even if you didn't have notable civil society people. Right? But in this particular case, we didn't see what you call the notable civil society people. You didn't see NLC, you didn't see TUC. People just became tired of being tired. Some people have given the protest different, colorations. It was handled by XYZ kind of boys. And I told them that I really don't care who it was handled about, or who handled it, or the coloration you give to them. Whoever felt concerned with what the police were doing, and Nigerians. And it was Ojukwu that said, the death of every Nigerian affects me. Because I'm a Nigerian, I am involved. I told somebody once that, biblically speaking, David went to give his brothers food and heard the ranting of Goliath. And then he felt concerned, and then he wanted to intervene. His elder brother felt that he was being too audacious and said, look, I've always known you to be to have some inordinate ambition. You will like cheap popularity. And David, in responding, says that, look, I don't know why you're talking like this. Isn't there a matter on ground? Clearly, is that you have a Goliath there attempting to annihilate, Israel. If you could do something about it, I probably wouldn't meet the situation on ground.
Right.
But clearly, is that you can't do anything about it. So we must seek for solution, all right? Because this is, imminent annihilation of a whole, nation. So I use that to say it didn't matter whether, quote unquote, it was the Yahoo boys or whoever you were trying to show you were the ones who organized it. Fundamentally, that the issues they were raising were critical. We have seen videos on, online, on internet, of how gruesome the police had been. I've had personal experiences. Once, as a senator of the Nigerian Association of Nigerian Students in Rivers State, we were rounded up by police officers who took us to their police station and took off our clothes, especially those of us that they considered leaders of the student movement at that time, and ran on our backs, bare backs, all right, with their boots, ran up and down on several trips on our back. And then they came to me and said, oh, this is the leader of the thing. And one of them kicked me in my eyes. I was blind for more than 20 minutes. I couldn't see a thing for more than 20 minutes. And for more than 3 months, I had to be taking drugs, because once I come out, my eyes, I would start shedding. I couldn't face the sun, all right? It was a miracle that got me, out of that situation. Now, that is a personal experience. Once I saw a military man trying to brutalize some guy in Mile 2 in Lagos, and I intervened, and the guy gave me a slap for just asking, for just saying this organ, take a easy, this guy. The guy gave me gave me a slap. That you intervened. Yeah, no, even just, intervene. So when you have that kind of a system, it gets to a point where it gets to the tipping point, and then everybody gets upset about it and say, look, it doesn't matter whether you're on this side of the divide, on this side of the divide. Right. Look, we have had enough of this, and we need to start speaking against it. Now, how do we track it? It's in the days to come, the kind of reports that we hear, because it's not enough, because we keep hearing government say that, especially with regards to what is happening with our young men, in the terrorism. Oh, we have contained them, we have pushed them to the brink, they no longer occupy territory. But we constantly still hear what these guys, are doing. So it is not what government has told us that they are doing that we will use to measure. Is we are at the receiving end, because the primary responsibility of government is to protect life and properties of its citizens. So going forward, in a few days' time, I hear that the governor's engagement with the police at Edo State level has yielded some results, and they are back, to the streets. How they will conduct their interface with the civilian population is going to be determined by the kind of reports we will see from, traditional media like ITV, and then social media, like we have, constantly. I am hoping that beyond lip service, the Nigerian people can be able to say this new police that we have, all right, is different from the police that we had pre-NSAS, and that these guys have become more professional, they have become more civil, they have become more humane, and they have come to realize that outside the uniform they wear, they live in the same community with all of us. That being said, we're all Nigerians.
That's what I was telling somebody. I was saying, look, the average policeman is first a Nigerian and a human being before he's a member of the Nigerian police, all right? They are people's parents and, of course, people's children as well. Some of them are also breadwinners for their various families, which means that the same issues affect everybody in this country, which again raises the need for us to have that civil interface between us, just as Reverend Olumartins has essentially said. But I want to talk to you, Agbolao. There was also this argument about, okay, we want to end SARS, but we have brought SWATs. And some Nigerians said, no, we want neither. We don't want SWAT, we don't want SARS. All right, but the police is saying, look, SWAT is going to be different from SARS in terms of the orientation and the way they will behave towards Nigeria and Nigerians ultimately. What was your emotion at that time?
Well, thank you very much. In respect of that, you see, I cannot really exempt myself away from it. Okay. In the issue of this police brutality, because it affects everybody.
Yeah, of course it does.
In this nation, at least to end SARS and come in with SWAT. But I want to tell you that they are of the same body. Nigeria said they are going to end SARS within 48 hours. they are bringing other body. And an issue like that, it has to be a collective effort. Because when you are saying this organization is not performing, a lot of complaints are coming from here, then you want to bring in other bodies to represent. It's not what you just sit down within 48 hours.
So you think that decision was hasty?
That, yeah, very, 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 very. So for that simple reason, I quite support everyone in Nigeria who said they don't want tax, they don't want SWAT, because they are also coming with the same characters. So, and most cases of these problems today, I can really dwell on it and say that it's not really the police is our issues, or neither our problems. The problem we have today in this nation is our government, our leaders. Why did I say so? Is because there is a lot of reports that has been coming across the board about this police brutality. As my brother just said right now, that either Yahoo boys or no. Police brutality is not just on only Yahoo boys. It's on an individual. If a lot of people start telling you what they have received from SACS, I myself sitting down here, I spent over 1 million naira for SACS. What happened? Because my younger brother was just caught, I asked her the question. Before you can get somebody arrested, you have to prove what and what is an offense of him. But all they said is that when I got to the station, they would tell us. But getting there, before I could get there the next day, they have beat up my brother mercilessly to force him to confess what he did not belong to. So before you know what is happening, they say we should go and bring 2 million that my brother is involved in some criminal activities. I say, oh, my brother, which I know right from town. So to cut a long story short, I settled out that case with 1 million naira. Maybe
it's for people like you, they've set up all of these panels of inquiry across this country right now. You don't think so?
Very, very. Very, very.
So were you impressed when you heard that panels of inquiries will be, inquiry will be set up to address all of these issues against Nigeria?
Yes, I'm very, very impressed of it, but to my own idea. You know, the issue of Nigeria we are today. They will pronounce to every citizen, the good citizen of Nigeria, that they are going to set up a panel or another committee to check into a matters. But I'm still telling you that those people that are going to involve in this cabal, they are all serving under one masters in this nation. In the sense that if really Nigeria is really ready to set up a committee to deal with issues presently now in Nigeria, because I can really say that this is the first time in history that Nigeria is facing a lot of issues like this in terms of protests. Because, and really, when you come to look about its protests, you know that God is intervening in Nigeria as president. Because why? In this protest, in Edo State, in all states in the nation, you cannot have a leader. There's no leader. No one can, I myself cannot say that I'm a leader of this group, or neither my brother Reverend here. But everybody pulled out to the streets and said enough is enough. So that is to tell you that God is intervening, because our leaders in this country, they have totally failed us.
I'm going to talk to you about a few more things. Of course, the same thing with Reverend Lumartin is here. We were supposed to be joined by Ajure Ngelale, is the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Public Affairs, but for constraints from his side this morning, I'm sure it's a busy day in Abuja for him. The gentleman couldn't join us. But Reverend, I need to talk to you about something. There's a point he raised a while ago. First about the misgiving that Nigerians, and of course the skepticism that Nigerians always express over things like judicial panels, committees, and so on and so forth. A lot of persons are saying, look, this whole thing will go the same way. And they are quick to take your mind back to 2014, the national conference, which is now the confab. And they're saying, where's the report from that confab? Where are all the recommendations that were made? You had brilliant professors, you had Nigerians of worth, of essence, all right, all gathered there to recommend very salient points as to how we can move this nation forward. And today, we're not even having a conversation as to implementing only one item from amongst all of those recommendations. Isn't that enough basis for somebody to wake up and say, well, let's just wave this off with the left hand. Even though some persons are saying, well, there's a curve now, this panel will do something better than any other panel we've seen in history.
Well, hopefully too. I am also hoping that coming out of the kind of protest that we have come out of, I'm hoping that coming out of upon the blood of innocent citizens and indeed police officers who may have been caught
in the web,
this crossfire, because the job of a police officer under the circumstances that Nigeria has found itself is not a safe job. Because if they knew, for instance, that the thing was going to spiral out of control the way that he did, I'm sure many of them probably wouldn't have gone to the police station, you know, on that day. Right? And it is important to mention that SARS, as it was then, because it's been banned now, is a unit of the police. It's also important to mention that it is not all police officers who are as notorious or who have behaved so as nefariously as have been described by several, you know, persons. Because my heart goes for the police officers who were caught in it and who, you know, died. I'm told that in Edo State, I mean, we'll have about 20 police officers who may have lost their life in this, you know, face of. So I'm hoping that from the background of that one and the blood of people who have been shed, especially at the Lekki toll gate, that the government across the states of the Federation will take this seriously. I'm hoping that given the history of the state governor of Edo State, who have shown, you know, over time some level of seriousness in governance, he would perhaps, you know, demonstrate to other governors how this thing should be done, and that matters like this cannot be swept, you know, under the carpet. But for those who have misgivings, you cannot but identify with why they have misgivings. First of all, it looks like the average Nigerian doesn't have tenacity. It looks like the average black man, especially in Africa, doesn't have what it takes to sit over a matter and to see it through. We're very quick at shortcuts. One day, sometimes I'm driving, you know, to the studio here, and I'm running a little bit late. All right. So there's the temptation, so to speak, to do it one way. To do it one way. All right. But I always tell myself that emergency does not justify wrongdoing. So I go through the long haul, and I probably send you a text. I say, oh, I'm going to be running, you know, late.
A little behind schedule.
But if you know, that happens in this country, or so people do a lot of things, and they just, you know, go through the one way, and then you have cooperations. There's traffic, for instance, on this side of the road. The other side of the road appears to be, you know, empty. That traffic is flowing. It won't be long before you see guys who will just move to that side, and then if you are coming on the other side, and then you insist that, look, please stay on your lane, you'll be shocked at what that guy will tell you, and then you'll be shocked at what some other guy on this side will tell you. That you are a wicked man. I've had people tell me that you are a wicked man. So it looks like government they've looked at us and said, look, these people do not have tenacity. You hear people say, don't worry, something else will so happen in this country. They will soon forget that one that has, you know, happened. So
hasn't that always been the case?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. That's why government does the way it does, because our people, perhaps overtly or covertly, perhaps deliberately by government, have been schooled not to be able to sit down over a matter and to see it through. Some 4 or 5 years ago, thereabout, there was a phantom NIS interview that was to take place in about 20 stadia in this country. We saw young people dressed in funny white and white, almost 1 million of them, in like 20 stadia. And you could see them marching, stepping over each other. We saw pregnant people. We saw the military bullying people just so that they can be orderly. And people didn't care to say, these are human beings. They should not be treated, you know, this way. And they rushed over each other. And like we know, that phantom interview, nothing came out of it. So you can understand why our government would behave the way they behave, because they know that we too, as citizens, we don't have what it takes to say, look, we will sit with this matter and we will see it through. As we speak now, what is happening to, you know, the NSAS, what is happening to the people who are hearing different kinds of narratives. The last time somebody is saying that, oh, people are saying that the people who did the shooting are actually thugs in Lekki who wore military uniform, and then unfortunately we will not have citizens who actually should be poo-pooing government for such a weak argument. They will not be supporting, government. And people say, it is hunger. I say, look, the challenge in Nigeria is not just hunger. We have hunger coupled with a valueless system, a system that has no value. As we speak now, more than 50 years after, people are still asking who killed JF Kennedy. There are people who are still investigating what happened to Dr. Martin Luther King. You see what Americans are doing, with
the elections.
Yeah, with the elections.
Right.
4 days into the election, temperaments are still, people are monitoring, they're following it, bumper to bumper, ensuring that, they get the right, leadership that will take them forward, in the next 4 years. So my appeal, of course, is that government will know that the things that transpired, if it can happen like that, no leadership, it was a low-cost army, no leadership, no nothing. I'm hoping that government will realize that if we sit down and do nothing, perhaps this chicken will come closer home and roost right at my ears, because it was beginning to get to that.
Right.
Our boys were beginning to get to almost wanting to going to notable politicians' house and assaulting them, because it moved from the quote and unquote the organized to the disorganized, and that's what happens when you attempt to provide solution to a problem bottom up. And that's why I think, was it John F. Kennedy that said that those who make peaceful resolutions impossible make violent revolutions inevitable. So in order to avoid the inevitability of a violent revolution, my appeal and my thinking is that we'll have government at different state level who will be smart enough to take the judicial panel of inquiry seriously and come up with recommendations and perhaps restitutions that will assuage the fears and the agitations of the Nigerian people, so that going forward we can have a better police force, and then we can have better policing, that everybody, that both the police and those who are being policed, can be satisfied with.
Well, there's something that is very remarkable with these protests. All right, the fact that it was essentially about the young people. For the most part, the people you had on the streets were young people. Even though I know there were people, elderly people, the aged, who were throwing their weight behind the issues that were being raised on account of this protest. Is that a sign that the young people are now waking up to say, look, this country belongs to us, we've got to take it back?
Yes. So my own understanding in this question is that every child who is above 18 years is an adult. And in a Western world, a child who is 20-something years can involve in politics. Okay. Just look at the ongoing election in America right now. I think it's about 31 years old girl from Nigeria, America, had just been elected.
Yeah, Esther Agbaji.
Esther Agbaji had just been elected. But let me ask you this. I and you quite should understand that in this country, if a 30 years old signifying an interest to contest for any office, do you think our leaders will give a room for a young person like that? The answer is no. It is highly a time for the Nigeria's youth to wake up, to take what rightly belongs to them from the leaders. Because when you look at how the leaders is managing the system of this country, it's quite obvious that those who are getting rich, they are getting rich. Those who are getting poor are getting poor. Our leaders today in this nation never concerns anything about the youths. When you look about the parliament in this country today, I think the youth we have should be 40-something or another 50. But really, for us to understand that what is going on today in the nation is that the youth have risen up to say it is our time. But in this protest that is going on today in the nation, is a message to the leaders. And I will also appeal to the leaders to please listen to the youths. Because my father cannot sit down on throne to be deciding for me as my age. And if my father is deciding, whatever he's deciding, if he's deciding on the wrong side of it, I'm duly to stand up and say, Dad, as my age today and my experience today, what you are deciding is quite wrong. So that is exactly what has happened today in Nigeria. That you see, right from time, Nigeria has been mismanaging. A lot of people on the streets, you can see a lot of people fell down and died on the streets of Nigerians. You see a lot of atrocity happens along the streets in Nigerians. What cause of all those things? What are the cause of all those things? It's not because that those people who are involved themselves in a criminal attitude, they have the stamina or the ability to do anything that will better their life. But due to the failure of the government of this country, most of them who have the ability to do things that can better their life or neither to better their neighbors or any other person beside them. But because of the failures of the government of this country, they could not be able to do anything. So a man who have a vision that said this is what is going to be in life, but automatically the government reduce and molest the dreams of that person. So what do you think that person is going to do next to live? So you have to commit one or two things. There's a lot of people today that is doing these protests. I'm telling some of them, they are not Yahoo boys. They are not even involved in any criminal activities. Those are people who is sitting down in the house and said, one day, revolution will take place in Nigeria. Right from time.
Hopefully that won't be a violent revolution. It's going to be a revolution that addresses issues.
Of course.
Right.
So when you take a look at these protests we are talking about, when it started initially, it was peaceful. Before it has been attacked. And let me tell you that this issue of saying that there's a hoodlums attacked the protest, if we really found deep down in this country, it's the politicians.
But we don't have that evidence. We can only speculate that much, right?
Yes, sir. So for me, I quite understand that for we to have a better Nigerians, we have to fight the government. And the government...
When you say fight the government, in what context? You are saying we need to engage the government,
of course,
and continue to advance the issues that affect Nigerians.
Affect Nigerians. Because our government today, they did not believe on the simplicity. And I think what then deserves is a violent and a peaceful protest.
No, violence has never had a good child, as they say. So I'm going to help straighten a few things up quickly just before you get back on in a bit. When we have a conversation like this, first we're on live television, right? So there are things that mustn't be taken for granted, all right? We saw the protest, of course. We're all in this country. We all followed keenly. We saw how it started peacefully. The Lekki incident, for example, is still very fresh in our heads, all right? By the time hoodlums, as we now call them, and miscreants took over the protest or hijacked the protest, we also saw what happened across the country, including jailbreaks and attacks of police stations and all of that, which a lot of us have come to condemn vehemently, to say, look, burning down police stations and as it were, plundering police armory were never supposed to be part of the deal. The whole idea was engage this government consistently on the issues that affect reforms of the police, and in particular the SARS, for example. Those were the issues. So violence is never recommended when these issues are concerned. But I understand what you're saying. The point you're making essentially is, look, let's engage government. Let's never allow government go to bed without attending to these burning issues that affect the everyday Nigerian. We understand that. But I want to come back to you in a bit on a few other issues regarding restructuring. But Reverend, look, there's an issue that bothers many people. They are saying, first of all, the SARS protest was not just really about SARS alone. They are saying, look, on some level, those protests, I mean, scattered across this country, were an expression of the frustration that many Nigerians have felt over time. Power, for example, a healthcare system. ASU has not been able to resolve its issues with the federal government for 8 months and running. It has been one deadlocked meeting after another over IPPIS platform for payment. And of course, on the other side, you have the issue of the 30 billion naira allowance they're supposed to pay to ASU, we understand. And the Minister of Education is saying, look, by now, ASU should have gone back to the classroom. Which means that the average undergraduate in Nigerian university has no idea, I mean public university has no idea when next they are going to have a lecture in real time. That's one issue. The second issue is, I've spoken with people off the record who say until the issue of the Lekki shooting is addressed, this discussion about NSAS has not gone full circle.
I concur. I mean, concur 100%. Well, safe to just quickly say that youth is not a merit.
Okay.
Young people, when they say young people, it's not a merit. To be young doesn't automatically qualify you for public office.
Okay.
And it doesn't automatically mean that you are productive. Productivity is a mental thing. And mental acumen or awareness of the issues bothering society has nothing to do, with age. Because I've heard young, it's time for young. What makes you young? That you're young doesn't mean that you have all the answers in your hands, all right? Challenges,
or even the capacity.
Yes, challenges answer to ideas, and ideas have to do with mental development. So when I heard, and then, when the protests were going on, I heard these guys say, oh, they don't want leadership. I knew that it was going to get to the point where it was going to be hijacked. At the risk of sounding immodest, if there was anything like a PhD, some of us have come to have PhDs in managing street protests. In 2012, we were on the streets, myself was in Osakwe, Kola Dukbai, Abraham of Yahweh, Omobude Ago, for 1 week going on a daily basis. Nobody branched anywhere to take a loaf of bread or one, akara, or from anybody. Everybody was orderly because we knew that these issues were a Nigerian issue that was affecting the military and, the police. So there's no protest that will be successful if you don't have competent leadership. If you do not trust the quote-unquote orthodox leadership of people that you have known among yourself, pick new set of leaders who can give the thing a face and who can give the thing direction, all right? So that at least there are people that you can identify. All over the world, there are people that you can identify. With the Montgomery crisis during the time of Dr. Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks, people knew, who to identify with, and they were able to identify with Dr. Martin Luther King and his group of people. Even the fight against segregation and racism, we had, Nelson Mandela there, just to quickly, put those issues in perspective. Now, talking about, you need to address what happened at that level, what happened in Lekki, because we're pushing these things up, except until there is disclosure, people are not going to be satisfied. It's like somebody who says that they say your father is dead, and you want to at least see the dead body. Until you put your father, until you bury your father, there isn't disclosure. There's going to be agitation as long as the body is in a mortuary, and then you have a brother in Canada who says no until it comes around. You have a brother in Germany. Except you put the body in the ground and bury the body, people will not be able to go by their normal activity because there are lots of questions. Who put out the lights? Who ordered, the military? Who did what and what? Who's responsible for this? Who's responsible for that? Especially for peaceful protest. It put us in a very bad light as far as the international community is concerned. I saw the interview of His Excellency, the Governor of Lagos State, Governor Sanwo-Olu, and Christina Mampo of CNN. Right. And I saw that there were a lot of questions that he couldn't, address. These guys, are they going to be brought to book? He couldn't answer that, question. I'm not the... So until these issues are properly addressed and disposed, people are not going to learn from it. Because the reason why history repeats itself is that people don't learn from history. And if you don't learn from history, then you are condemned, to repeat it. On your very second issue, the issue of the fact that NSAS wasn't just about, the police. It was dissatisfaction. We had seen our boys, whether it was called Movement for the Survival of the People of Biafra, MASOB, or Independent, they now prescribe, IPOP, and then we saw the Egbesu boys. We have seen, our, Niger Delta, militants. We have even seen, even in the north, everybody seems to be finding succor in ethnicism. everybody seems to be finding succor in where they come from, because the center has failed them. When you hear somebody start saying, I'm a Benin man, when somebody says, I'm an Igbo man, it's because the center has failed them. What I expect people to say is that I'm a Nigerian, and that should suffice. But to say that you are in Nigeria does not suffice in this part of this country, because you can be a Nigerian and then you go to a certain part of the country, you will not have a level playing field simply because you are not from that part of the country. Yet you see somebody from that part of the country who doesn't have any serious qualification, who is in charge of, MDAs, ministry departments and agencies of government, some of whom that we describe, as plum. So the issues were about the fact that in our own country, we are second-class citizens in our own country. For instance, I have an electricity issue where I live, in Second World. The neutral wire, for 2 days, it has been down. For 2 days. And then these guys have brought ladder to disconnect people who didn't pay. Now to reconnect us for 2 days, just the neutral wire, the last wire down, just to connect it. 2 days, electricity has been going up, down, and I'm sure that there are people by now who have had some of their appliances
on account of the surge.
On account of the surge, just because people need to connect something. I've been there, on several occasions. So when you have some of those, issues over time, people become dissatisfied, and when people become dissatisfied and they do not have government to interface with, once people are not given the opportunity to talk, they will provide the answers by themselves. If people don't see you on air after a while, they cannot contact you. They don't know what's happening to you, what's happening to you, what's happening to you. And if nobody explains to them, they will provide the answers, by themselves. So Nigerians are behaving the way they are behaving because government is aloof, and they sit down in that Olympian aloofness and just wonder to say, because their children school abroad, they don't care about UNIBEN. Because their children receive health care, abroad, they don't care, about, UBTH, and then because they have, big cars they don't care about the roads, because they have electricity, they don't care, about, electricity. And once the majority of the hoi polloi, the ragtag and bobtails of society can congregate together and consistently express dissatisfaction, like Obafemi Awolowo said, the children of the poor that you refuse to educate will never allow the children of the rich that you have educated to rest. That is what is playing out now, because the majority are only having their say. Unfortunately, the minority are having the way as against what the majority should have. So when you have some of those pockets of dissent and dissatisfaction, like Fela sang, suffering and smiling, you will find that the one small thing, like what happened in Rosa Parks. Rosa Parks just got tired, and then she was thrown out of the train. And then, before you know what's happening, Martin Luther King mobilized the whole nation and said nobody should enter bus. A whole lot of things happened. It wasn't just about Rosa Parks. There have been, pockets of issues. Like my father would say, the day a child breaks the mortar, it's not the day you beat that child. The day he breaks a teacup, that's when you break that. And the child is wondering, but only teacup now. Then your man says, now so you say break mortar the other time. Now so you say destroy television the other time, because he had been doing things and you have been overlooking it. You just got to the
point. But meanwhile, stacking up.
Yes, stacking up. So what you say? And then he got to understand, why did my father beat me for breaking a teacup? It wasn't just a teacup. A whole lot of things have been, happening. It's not the last blow that cracked the rock. Subsequent blows that have been going into it. That's why our friend Achibe said the center can no longer hold, and things are falling apart. So I agree that the NSAS was just the ignition key. The bottom line is a whole lot of things have been happening, and nobody can be excused. Even the rich who find solace in their high walls, when they drive out, they surround themselves with gun-trotting, fierce-looking police officers, because they themselves in their own country do not feel safe. So bad, like everybody is affected. I'm hoping that something will not happen tomorrow that will ignite something similar, to this.
That doesn't happen.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And the only way that will not happen is if these parallel inquiries can come together and give government sound recommendations that government will implement. Otherwise, we're simply buying time. Something else may just happen, and then we'll have a situation where the people are not even going to want to listen to government. You know, I hope that doesn't happen, but government also needs to act.
Of course, we hope that doesn't happen as long as government is proactive about these issues. So we'll be taking a few calls quickly. The number will be on your screen in a bit, just to ensure that you also reach out and lend your voice to these two conversations that we're having this morning. But I want to talk to you about restructuring now. I mean, away from the NSAS issue. A lot of persons are saying, let's restructure Nigeria, let's restructure Nigeria. It's not something that's going to happen over a one weekend period. It's not something that's going to happen between a Friday and maybe Sunday morning, for example. Restructuring, a lot of persons say is long overdue in this country. But then again, we've not been able to accomplish it. And some persons have made it a subject of politics already as it stands today. When you think about the need to restructure Nigeria, I mean, if you see the need, for example, what are some of your thoughts?
Oh, well, restructuring Nigeria, to my own understanding, well, the way the country is today, you see, all issues has been politics. When AA is being elected as the president of the country, whatever you want to do about this country is all the cabal of AA. But the best way to restructure Nigeria is on a collective effort, in the sense that you have to involve everybody in the country. One, you have to involve the civil society.
Right.
Then two, you have to involve the students. You have to involve the traditional rulers. And you also have to involve the former presidents, vice presidents. You have to involve those people, and they call a national conference. Then you now listen to the opinion of various individuals that involved in that conference.
So you must carry everybody along.
You must carry everybody along. But the issue whereby a set of people just sat down and taking decision over a country, at the end of the day, it's going to be a failure. So for me, to my best of knowledge, is that Nigeria is really overdue for has a national conference.
You see, I need to push you along this line because, as we say, you are a young person, and obviously, just like any other person, you want to see a Nigeria that works. You want to see a Nigeria that delivers social goods to people.
He's a younger person.
Well,
this is a young person. You need to look at an old person.
No, we're not come to you yet. We need to post the birth certificate on Facebook. That's a joke, by the way. But Reverend, I want to talk to you about something before I get back to Agbolao here. It appears the concept of restructuring itself is a problem, first of all. We understand that this government, I mean the President Muhammadu Buhari-led government, for example, also campaigned on the plank of restructuring this country. So some persons have thought, well, worst case scenario, within the first 4 years of this administration, restructuring would have been at least in motion significantly. But as it stands today, we have not heard much from the panel that was set up, the committee, as I'd like to say, headed by the governor of Kaduna State, Malam Nasir El-Rufai. Are we over-politicking with the discussion?
I don't think so. At any rate, like I said, this country is so divided along ethnicism. It's so divided along political party lines, like my brother is trying to say, and that's why we have not been able to push the matter of restructuring. But why is it difficult to restructure if it's for the benefit of everybody? The truth of the matter is that restructuring is not for the benefit of everybody. There are people who understand that restructuring will not favor them. I was listening to Bismarck when he's saying that there are probably about 11 states in 36 states of the president
that are viable.
That are viable. In other words, remaining other 25 states are parasitic states. So I was excited when he told me that when he listed them and then those states found his way,
into the 11.
Yeah, it means that something had been happening,
over time.
In recent time for you to be able to be listed there. So when you now have a state like Taraba State, for instance, you have a state like Zamfara State, for instance, that all they survive on is what comes from the federal allocation. And 95% of the federal, what the federal allocation gives to some of these states in question are oil proceeds. So in other words, Nigeria is a mono economy that survives on oil. And where is the oil situated? This oil is situated in about 6 or 7 states of the federation, now called the Niger Delta. The majority of it anyway is in Akwa Ibom, is in Bayelsa, is in Delta State, and is in Rivers. So if you now say restructuring includes control of the resources that are in your own state, you can understand that a state like Zamfara would not like that kind of a proposal.
But Zamfara has gold, even though that has become controversial.
That has become controversial because ideally is that the gold in Zamfara by our Land Use Act, Decree 4, should belong to everybody. But Zamfara can mine their gold and use their gold for their own benefit, but Edo State cannot have total control of its own marginal oil fields. Edo State contributes about 2.8, in terms of oil contribution.
Right.
So when you have some of those imbalances, for instance, you have JAM. You go to certain parts of this country, certain part of the country in the north, you somebody who can read medicine with 80 is admitted in a university in the north. You somebody who had 270 is not admitted in the University of Benin. So when you have some of these, disparities, you hear somebody who speaks from the south, you hear all of his qualifications, he is underserving somebody who is his organ from another part of the world, another part of the state, simply because he is from that part of the state. How do you expect this, our southeastern brothers, for instance, to identify with Nigeria? They have 5 states in the south. In the southeast, the northwest has 7 states, and we're supposed to have 6 geopolitical zones. So you can start calculating. If the northwest has 7 states, it means that they have 21 senators. If the southeast has 5 states, it means that they have 15 senators. And if the senators have constituency projects that they must use to go and develop their state, you can understand why the southeastern people must be feeling cheated. You have Kano State that has 44 local governments. And out of Kano State, they're taking Jigawa out. Jigawa has 24 local governments. Before Jigawa was taken out of Kano State, Lagos State had been in existence. Lagos State, the most populous state, has 20 local governments because they say they have created 32 LCDAs that is not recognized by the Constitution. So if Kano State, before they broke out Jigawa, still has 44 local government, Jigawa has 24 local government. So when you combine them, 68 local government from a state that was split into 2. But a state as old as Lagos State has 20 local government. Look at our Akoko Edo. As massive as Akoko Edo, it is still one local government. Yet Akoko Edo is as big as maybe Anambra State, or maybe almost as big as Ebonyi State. So when you have some of these disparities, you can understand why some people are not going to want agitation, because the relationship is parasitic. You are not bringing anything into the relationship. So if I say, let everybody become productive, some people are going to say, no, I don't want to become productive. But I used to feel this.
We're going to talk about this some more, but let's take a few calls now quickly. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning. Welcome to TMI. Okay, we lost that call. Please, before you call, ensure you turn down the audio on your TV set. And also, please, let's stay with the issues. We're not using this medium to cast aspersions. We're staying with the issues. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Yes, good to have you on TMI. Please tell me your name, location, and then make your contribution.
My name is Godwin. I'm speaking from Udo.
All right, go ahead.
If we are talking about the structure of this country, the truth of the matter is that our leaders, they are not doing us well at all. You have to start from the leaders. We have youth in Nigeria. But you can see old men living on every time. What is the time that they will give the youth to lead us in this country? If they try the old men, they cannot lead us well. Let them give the youth chance so that they can lead us. Because we are tired of old men. All of their children are living outside country. So they don't care about you. You, they are moving on the street. There is nothing like to do about you. We are in Nigeria, we are the people that respect leaders so much. You can't try in other countries when you say everybody stay at home more than 3 months without giving them food and their respect, and you are still telling them other things. We respect our leaders. Look at the during time of coronavirus. The leaders say we should stay at home, obey them. Even the food that they give to them to share to people, they don't give anybody. So what are we talking about? The country is just that we don't carry out the country. Thank you so much. That's only one.
Okay, let's take if you just one more call now, and then we'll get back to my guest right here in the studio. Hello, good morning.
Hello, yeah, good morning.
Yeah, welcome to TMI.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, hey, bro.
Yes, we can hear you all right. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, please. What I feel is what Nigeria actually needs is decentralization of power.
Decentralization of power.
Exactly. All states should be given the autonomous authority to have control over their resources. And when that happens, I believe we won't have a situation whereby allocation of resources, allocation of funds become a form of partial ratio among states. Like one of your members was actually saying some states receive more allocations just because they have higher number of local governments and higher number of constituencies, and which actually feels it's injustice on the part of other states that have been existent for long. So I believe if each state are given autonomy to control their own resources and probably pay tax to the government, then develop their resources based on the revenue they get, then the story will be different. And we do the current immense development in Nigeria.
All right. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. I need to talk to you about this right now. Yes, restructuring, a lot of persons have argued, will make Nigeria a better country. But there are people who have misconception, almost complete misconception about the idea of restructuring, thinking that restructuring means the North will go their way, the Southeast will go their way, the South will go their way, the Southwest will go their way. Not knowing that it is more like a calibration, or if you like, a recalibration or a reconfiguration, as it were, of the whole of the country. All right. How can we find possibility with restructuring Nigeria so that we don't just keep talking and talking, and in 20 years' time we're still talking about restructuring?
Well, thank you very much for that. You see, the issue of Nigeria, the problem we are facing in Nigeria today, it has been a long on ground. That restructuring Nigeria we are talking about is on a very simple issues. But if the leaders of this country are really willing to restructure this country, in the sense that, to me, that is to my own best of knowledge, I'm not speaking in the mind of others.
Of course, you're speaking for yourself.
For myself. That, you see, a lot of things have been happening now in Nigeria, in the politics and the business sectors. Let's just take a look at what just happened in those states in the recent elections. If the whole state in Nigeria can learn from that, you see that Nigeria would have a little bit different and a change will start coming. The major problem today in Nigeria is, if this my brother want to contest an election, if he himself does not bow down himself for particular leaders in the states, the ticket will not be guaranteed. But let me tell you, my brother will have all the wisdoms and talents to manage the resources of this country and to bring food to the doorstep of the commoners. But because he himself does not belong to any cabal in the nation, automatically they will reduce the streams and pay the streams. Then, you say our people today in government, if most of them want to go into an office, they have all their time to go down deep into the villagers. They will go to, no matter how it takes.
Jury campaign.
Jury campaign, no matter how it takes them to find themselves in that place. They will go there and make sure they speak to the people. And the people will also tell them what they want. But once they assume office, you see they will totally neglect those people. if you ever go to their office or write to their office in any way around or in social media, they will totally neglect them. But in this issue, you see today, it was funny that I was even watching a program that the state government was even saying that they will be moving from house to house to be arresting people.
Those who stole palliatives.
Those who stole palliative. In any house they find a palliative, they will get them arrested. If it is possible for Nigerians to move from house to house to arrest those who were involved, it tells that the government know what they are doing in this country. What will better our country? What did you think is good for the government to do in this country? So, unfortunately, that Nigeria is a very funny country anyway, because our government as today, as I said earlier, they are totally failed us. So in this issue of restructuring Nigeria, it's going to be a collective effort, as I said earlier.
Exactly. So everybody needs to put their hands on deck, exactly, and throw in their contributions.
Yeah.
So.
And secondly, for me, I believe that it is highly time that Nigeria should tell us the truth. We should tell ourselves the truth.
Both the government and the people.
Both the government and the people.
Right.
Because as I'm here sitting down with you today, I'm not really happy with the situations we are facing in this country. And I believe so it is to everybody in this country. You say that today, before any man that can proud of himself that he has a complete meal of a deal, is difficult. Because one, the politicians and the leaders of this country, they have taken all the citizens of Nigeria to be nobody. And they believe they can wake up a particular day like this to increase things and inflate things in Nigeria. So today, my brother, if Nigeria keep going like this, in the next 2 years, you will see a different situation in Nigeria.
Okay, we hope that situation we're going to see in the next 2 years, I mean, using your own forecast now, regardless of what the metrics are, will be much better than where we are today. I mean, 2 years' time is a long time. But Reverend, let's give you 1 minute to wrap it up for us on the program this morning, all right? Whether or not to restructure Nigeria is one thing, but what we must do going forward to restructure beyond papers, beyond all of the razzmatazz, as we say in the media, and all the rhetorics, what are the specifics we must do to achieve restructure?
Very quickly is that we must consciously create a large middle class.
Which we probably don't even have anymore.
We don't have it. What we have in this country are those who are the super rich.
Yeah.
And then those who are chronically poor. For Nigeria has been designated, rightly or wrongly, but the indices are clear, as the poverty capital of the world. We have the largest out of school students, especially at entry level. So all of the global indices that are unarguable are in the negative. So we must look for how do you create a large middle class. We must look for how to redistribute resources. Why can America do some of the things that it's doing? The reason is because America takes from the rich consciously and looks for consciously and looks for how to distribute
to spread it across.
Ensure that there isn't plenty disparity. So you can imagine that if you have 200 million people, you have about 120 million people whose lifestyles are not different from each other. I'm not going to look at Uyi and this. I'm trying to assess how can Uyi be wearing the kind of clothes that he's wearing? Because what Uyi is wearing is not very different from what I'm wearing. And it's not very different from what my brother is wearing. So you have that large cache of middle class, everybody is going to feel generally satisfied. And one way to do that, a very critical way to do that, is like one of the callers said, is to decentralize. I'm using the American system again. Look at what is happening. Have you not observed that there isn't one central, you have not heard much about one central electoral system. The states are conducting their elections.
Yes, exclusively.
By their own laws. But there are some states that are saying will not count until the mailing votes coming. So what it means is that we may still have to, like, tomorrow or Saturday
before
the things, and that is how the American system has been. It is highly decentralized. So when you have a decentralized system, you just find out that there's no need for you to go and meet
so in all
your
of this,
local government.
we have a lot of work. We have a lot of work.
Oh, a whole lot of work.
Yeah.
People are ready for work, that is.
Okay, so we are going to also assess how ready we are for work. I want to thank these two gentlemen very specially, Reverend Olu Martins and Bright Agbonlao, who have come to share with us their thoughts on these two very salient issues this morning. Gentlemen, thank you again.
Thank you.
And we do hope you enjoy the rest of your day. We're taking a quick break now. We're back shortly to talk with someone who is collaborating with independent television and radio to change the narrative as far as use of English at post-UTME level is concerned. Stay with me. Advice to the public on the coronavirus. The World Health Organization, WHO, recommends you take the following measures. Know that most people who become infected experience mild illness and recover, but it can be more severe for others. Take care of your health and protect others by doing the following.
Regularly and thoroughly clean your hands with an alcohol-based hand sanitizer or wash them with soap and water. Washing your hands with soap and water or using alcohol-based hand sanitizer kills viruses that may be on your hands.
Maintain at least 1 meter, which is 3 feet distance between yourself and anyone who is coughing or sneezing.
Hands touch many surfaces and can pick up viruses. Once contaminated, hands can transfer the virus to your eyes, nose, or mouth. From there, the virus can enter your body and can make you sick.
Make sure you and the people around you follow good respiratory hygiene. This means covering your mouth and nose with your bent elbow or tissue when you cough or sneeze. Then dispose of the tissue immediately.
Stay home if you feel unwell. If you have a fever, cough, and difficulty breathing, seek medical attention and call in advance. Calling in advance will allow your healthcare provider to quickly direct you to the right health facility. If you develop fever, cough, and difficulty breathing, seek medical advice promptly, as this may be due to a respiratory infection or other serious condition.
Be informed.
Be prepared.
Be smart.
Be safe.
Be ready to fight COVID-19.
This message is brought to you courtesy Independent Television and Radio.
Because surprise where you do this your business now surprise me.
Big thanks for joining me on the news update on Independent Television. I'm Philip Omogupo. The Inspector General of Police, Mohammed Adamu, has expressed optimism that the launch of community policing in the nation's security system would prevent any reoccurrence of civil unrest like the recent hijacked NSAS protest, which left property worth millions of naira destroyed nationwide. Mr. Adamu stated this when he visited Governor Gordon Obaseki in Government House, Benin City, after a tour of police formations vandalized during the protest. Government House correspondent Patience Osaogiwa has details.
Mr. Adamu visited Benin City for the first time after the NSAS protests by youths who took to the streets to protest against police brutality, extrajudicial killings, and violations of human rights by the disbanded Police Special Anti-Robbery Squad, popularly known as SAS. The protest led to the burning of some police stations and destruction of police property. The Inspector General of Police, who said the incident has not in any way dampened the resolve of his men to arrest criminals, emphasized that his coming will encourage officers of Edo State Command to do their best in protecting the lives and property of Edo State residents. He said that his men were not overwhelmed but exercised restraint as a way of preventing fatalities.
As police officers, we know that we are specially trained to deal with unrest, to deal with civil disorder. And what happened the day our police stations were attacked, our officers were attacked, will not dampen our morale. It will not make us to shy away from our responsibilities. It has even gingered us to seek cooperation from members of the public so that we can occupy the public space instead of leaving it to criminals.
Welcoming the IGP, Governor Obaseki commended him for taking up the challenge to assist police officers to return to their duty posts, noting that his visit will further boost the morale of police personnel.
I understand very clearly your logic and rationale for community policing, and we will continue to work with you because that is the way to go. So we are very clear about your direction, and we want to assure you that in Edo State, and as long as I remain governor, we will continue to support the police.
Governor Obaseki called for thorough investigation into the prison break in Benin City and appealed for assistance in rearresting all inmates who escaped from the correctional facilities in Benin City.
We want to appeal that those break-ins should be thoroughly investigated. I'm sure you're picking up very vital information because we still have so many of those inmates at large, and we don't want them to spend Christmas with us in the city. We want you to help us arrest them and get them back.
The governor is particularly pleased with the community policing initiative as he pledges support for its success. Patience Osaugiwa reporting.
Meanwhile, the Inspector General of Police Mohammed Adamu was in Benin City yesterday to assess the damage done to police facilities by hoodlums who hijacked the anti-SARS protests in the state. Crime correspondent Wellington Akodeja reports that the visit was also aimed at boosting the morale of police personnel in the state.
On his arrival in Benin City, the Inspector General of Police Mohammed Adamu visited Ugbeku Police Station, St. Saviour, Dumais Road Police Division, and the Nigerian Correctional Facilities on Saple Road, Benin City, to assess the extent of damage by hoodlums who hijacked the End SARS protests. The police boss also visited the State Police Headquarters. The Inspector General of Police Mohammed Adamu thanked the police for their patience. Despite the provocation, he urged policemen to be civil and always protect and defend themselves from assault. IGP Adamu said all police officers who sustained injuries and those who lost their lives will be given automatic promotion to the next rank as a sign of encouragement from the force.
All those that were injured or they lost their lives, they are going to get promotion to the next level. In order to encourage us, Mr. President 2 weeks ago has approved the adjustment of our salaries to a higher grade for all officers.
In his address, Edo State Governor Mr. Godwin Obaseki commended the role the police played throughout the End SARS protests in the state. The state governor, represented by his deputy, Comrade Philip Shaibu, assured the police that the state government would take responsibility for the pains incurred by police personnel during the End SARS protests in the state.
Do we give up and allow them to continue to dominate the space? That's what the IG is telling us, that we should occupy the space because they have no space to occupy. The space belongs to us. Are you sure the space belongs to you? Yes. Because the IG is not hearing. The space belongs to the Nigerian.
Earlier, the State Commissioner of Police Johnson Kukumo, who itemized the losses of the command in the wake of the protests, thanked the Inspector General of Police for his visit to boost the morale of police personnel.
The state government has taken it upon itself to rebuild the damage to crazed police stations and provide patrol vehicles as necessary tools to occupy and dominate the security space as directed by the Inspector General of Police.
Senior officers from the police force headquarters, Abuja, accompanied the Inspector General of Police on the visit. Wellington Akodeja reporting.
The Minister of Youth and Sports Development, Sunday Dare, has congratulated Mr. Adeoye Owolewa after he became the first Nigerian-born man to win a seat in the United States House of Representatives. Mr. Owolewa, who hails from Omuaron in Kwara State, claimed victory in the U.S. Congress election for the District of Columbia. Mr. Dare, in a tweet, stated that in view of Mr. Owolewa's contributions and sacrifices, he is elated for becoming America's first Nigerian-American congressman. Mr. Owalewa pledged to fight for District of Columbia statehood and bring the much-needed values to the lawmaking process. The federal government says funding has been made to roll out 1 million free meters across the country. President Muhammadu Buhari disclosed this via his Twitter handle. He stated that electricity distribution companies will distribute the meters under the first phase of the presidential mass metering initiative. According to the president, deployment of meters has already started in parts of Kano, Kaduna, Lagos, and Abuja. The metering initiative will help the federal government fully meet over 6 million deficit of meters nationwide and will impact an estimated 30 million consumers. President Buhari pointed out that all meters under the program will be sourced from local manufacturers and in country stock to create jobs. The Isamail Benin and Honorary Romanian Consort to Edo and Delta State, His Excellency Sir Chief Dr. Gabriel Osawa Igbeneghu, has been bestowed with an award of honor by the Rotary Club of Benin, Metropolitan District 9141, for his immense contribution to Rotary Nigeria. Deborah Gbefon reports that the Isama of Benin was also decorated as polio ambassador as part of activities to mark the club's 15th anniversary of World Polio Day celebration.
Members of the Rotary Club of Benin Metropolitan District 9141, led by 8th President Rotarian hero Okolo Obina Emmanuel, were at the house of Igbeneghu at number 1 to 13 Okada Avenue, GRA Benin City, to celebrate the club's 15th anniversary with the 8th Sama of Benin and Honorary Romanian Consort to Edo and Delta States, Sir Chief Dr. Gabriel Sawao Igbeneghu, who is also a major donor to Rotary and a Paul Harris Fellow. In a remark, the first President Rotary Club of Benin, Rotarian hero Okolo Obina Emmanuel, said the awardee and polio ambassador, Sir Chief Dr. Gabriel Sawao Igbeneghu, and this summer of Benin has contributed immensely to Rotary Club and in the fight against polio in Nigeria.
Polio ambassador, our benefactor, the father of all Rotarians here in Benin City, District 9141, Nigeria. The father of humanitarian service, one man who preaches what he practices, one man who is a giver and a polio fighter. Please put your hands together for our father.
High points of the ceremony was decoration of an elated Isama of Benin, Sir Chief Dr. Gabriel Sawao Igbeneghu, as polio ambassador in honor of his huge contributions to Rotary International. Former Rotary President, Benin Metropolitan District 9141, Rotarian Nusa Edo Osaigi, who represented the district governor, decorated the Isama of Benin in a colorful event.
Honor you with this award on their 15th anniversary ceremony. Congratulations, you know. Congratulations.
Members of the Rotary Club of Benin Metropolitan District 9141 also caused the Rotary Club's 15th anniversary cake.
This summer is very legendary in terms of humanitarian activities, and it was necessary for this summer to be honored this afternoon.
There's no better way to celebrate it than celebrating it with the greatest Sama of Benin Kingdom, Chief Gabriel Sawao Igbeneghu, who is a major donor to Rotary, a benefactor, and a polio fighter, a polio ambassador.
Today is a very unique day because we came to visit a very important Rotarian, a polio ambassador, a man who has supported Rotary substantially.
We are indeed grateful to our father, our benefactor, a philanthropist, one man who is always there to help the poor, one man who has always supported the cause of Rotary.
Esama of Benin is one of us and is an ambassador, so he's a polo fighter. We thank God for his life.
Isama of Benin, Sir Chief Dr. Gabriel Sawao Igbeneghu, in his usual magnanimity, hosted the visitors to a lavish reception. Deborah Gbefon reporting.
And that's the size of the news of the day. Thanks for watching. Do join me on the World News at noon. The concluding part of TMI is next.
Independent television, certainly the best.
Enough of dull moments. Children, come on, let's have some fun.
Oh yes, ITV Radio wants to put smiles on your faces this season.
With a loud ovation, celebrate the simplistic Father Christmas, aka Father Peace, as he comes to delight you this Yuletide.
You know what? It is either you visit him or he visits you. Visitation commences November 2020.
So schools, churches, corporate organizations, hurry! Book now to avoid the rush.
They told me,
This program is partly sponsored by
Orangewood Limited, real estate developers, managers, sales, rent and lease of properties, currently selling land at Igbobi Community, Upper Ekanwa Road, Benin City, 350,000 naira for 100 by 100 feet, offers high security and solar equipment, develop apps, softwares and delivery services. Number 32, Hagiobara Street, off Iyama Road, GRA, Benin City. Call 0903-889-5858.
For booking, contact Commercial Department, Glasshouse, Airport Road, Benin City, or call 0708-365-2474.
ITV Radio Simplistic Father Christmas. Baba Jeje.
Okay, as we conclude the program this morning, I want to take a look at something that's very crucial, and that is the use of English, whether it's at O level, at UTME level, or even post-UTME level. However, this time we're paying, as it were, a bit more attention to the post-UTME candidates. Why is use of English so important? Why is it so vital to the entire process? I'm joined by Eyosun, Esige, who would rather be called Esige. To help us make sense of this, first we need to establish that his organization is collaborating with independent television and radio to say, look, we can change the narrative for the better as to how students and candidates perceive the use of English, and ultimately, and more importantly, how they can improve their game in terms of use of English and then do better with their grades and practice of the language. Esige, it's always a pleasure to have you on our program here. Right?
Thank you very much.
I've been curious myself. When you write post-UTME, there are other subjects that are very important.
Yes.
Why are we paying more attention, or the entire attention, on use of English?
Yes, thank you for that question. Thank you. I'm very happy. The reason, yes, let me say, we are going to have it in other subjects. But where we are to start with English is this. English language is a kind of a junction where
all the subjects meet.
Yes.
Okay.
There is a place, it's a junction, it's a sports, it's a place where science, arts, and social science, that's where they meet.
Okay. Like a convergence point.
Yes, yes. So, and we believe that by the time we start with English, and we're able to marry these, persons together,
right,
and build their confidence, and essay in this one. So if tomorrow we ask you, want to have for maths, they will take us seriously.
Okay. I want to ask you something quickly, which has to do with the peculiarity or the uniqueness of this particular program, post-UTME use of English conference.
Okay,
that's
fine.
what it's called. Well, what makes it peculiar?
Yes. Why it is very peculiar is this. Okay, let me begin by saying we have tutorials.
All over the place.
Okay, yes, where they teach. At this time now, tutorials are majorly focusing on post-UTME.
Okay.
But why is this one, peculiar? Is this? Firstly, we want to reveal secrets.
Okay.
JAM has syllabus, SSC has, but post-UTME has none. When I did my post-training, the first one, I had 66. I was not given admission based on what I applied. But in the second one, I had 83. 83, that was what I scored. It is not because of, oh, I read so much or I was, I am very good. But I went for research and I discovered some secrets. Where universities pick their questions. How? That is one. Two, the people that are coming to groom our expected students.
Right.
They are not just, let me, please, can I mention a name?
No, okay, amongst those who are coming as resource persons.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, we are bringing Mr. Akinbode Sunday Johnson, the author of the popular Dandy English, where, a textbook that a handful of Nigerian universities pick their questions from.
Okay.
It's going to be on ground. And we have
what will students benefit on account of participating in this program?
Yes. Yesterday somebody called me, said, sir, how much is the cash prize? I said, no. We are not setting this program up because of money. So in the end, you get money. The first benefit is we are done with this program.
Right.
Because many universities, English covers 60% in their questions.
Yeah.
After the program, you should be assured of admission first. Then when you not get admission, the cash price is pay your acceptance fee and pay your school fees and be school. So the first benefit, is in a nutshell, is success in post-training. Then the cash
overall,
price,
academically.
Yes, academically. Then secondly, the cash price.
Okay. There are two more issues. Is the program open for sponsorship? And I hear there's a pause of some sort.
Yes.
So you want to address those two issues?
This program, like I said, the jingle on television and radio will be out by tomorrow. The program is open for sponsorship. You can call us, already we are working with persons, we are already screening names, that want to bring in for sponsors. You can call us for sponsors, Then you are going to benefit, advertise of them. Okay. Then parents ask this question. He said, my son is not ready to stay me. And can you come? I said, yes. It's English you want to teach.
So if I were writing GC, SSC, for example, NECO.
Yes, this English.
It's universal.
Yes. Then other parents, I met with the person, we discuss. He said, oh, wow. He said, although I don't have anybody coming to come and attend the program, I will support this program financially because it is a youth program. It is only positive. It is not, that very day during the program, nobody will come and say that in class is ongoing, you'll be taking selfie, or you'll be collecting phone numbers, or you'll be going on the go. No. So there's a pause. We have the last meeting I had with ITV, we agreed, we had a pause already. Okay.
I want to ask you something.
Okay.
Yes, for the sake of time, I understand there's a press, right? I also understand that there are contact numbers that people can use in reaching, and we already have those numbers on the screen. But again, for the benefit of our people who may be visually impaired, can we just call out the numbers?
Yes, please. In case you want to reach us on sponsorship or you want to support the program financially or how, you can reach the best brains on 081 68 1611 53. Then you can reach ITV on 070 32 07 3819. And please let me quickly add this, please. We have a WhatsApp group already, where the class has started. Where people are asking questions.
So you join that group?
Yes, it is better. So in case you want to join that group, and you can join the group as a student or as a parent.
What's the number?
Yes, the number for the group is 080 244 2666. and 5.
Okay, thank you so much, ESG, for coming to share with us. He will be here for the next couple of days up until the date of the event, which is when again?
Yes, the date is on the 16th.
On the 16th of November.
Yes.
So we're going to bring you more information every other day as far as this conference, the post-UTM Media of English Conference is concerned, put together by the best brains and independent television and radio. That's our program for today. Thank you for watching. I'm Uyi Agmofwegwe. Always remember that the views of our guests are their opinions. Our coverage on ITV continues.
This is ITV. Certainly the best.